Well, you can start it. Or maybe I'll start it.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Earth's Ascension. This is Denise King Francisco here at the Temple Within Radio, and I am delighted to introduce Ortrun and Carl Franklin. Good morning, you two.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to be with you.
It's great to have you with us, too. And for those, wherever you happen to be around Grandmother Earth this morning, the chat room is open. So please feel free to come on in and ask questions of Carl and Ortrun. They are always open to dialogue. And I'm anxious to hear what you have to say today.
Okay. Carl, are you going to begin?
I will if you
Okay,
want.
sure.
Good morning, everybody. We're living in very, very interesting times. Dana and Ortrun and I had just a couple of minutes to chat before this program began, and we're going through exactly the same thing. We're being hit with a tremendous amount of powerful, negative, disruptive energy. And I believe that I think all people, but all light workers in particularly, are being hit not just this week, but we all have our ups and our downs. Our energy sometimes is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful, and other times, oh my God, how do I get out of this? All right, and I want to talk a little bit because this morning has been very informative in terms of giving me a technique for dealing with this negative energy, this negative environment, these negative beings when they try to interfere with us. Okay, this as most of you know, every day I do a clearing, at least one, sometimes two, and sometimes three. And clearings are working with people no longer wearing physical bodies. They're either on the astral plane or they're what we call dark lords or dark overlords. And they were here in great number yesterday and again today. And I try to do this and lay in bed before I get up, but I couldn't do it this morning. I had to get up and be wide awake and alert while also being in the meditative state. And normally, I will call in archangels to remove the dark lords and dark overlords. And I call in heavenly loved ones to remove the beings that are stuck on the astral plane. But that didn't seem right this morning. Instead, they came and they gave me something else. I got a strong sense of beautiful aroma coming off of dozens of different types of flowers. The room that was filled with this beautiful, beautiful aroma. And there was music playing in the background, happy, joyful, uplifting music. And then the love began to flow, and the peace and the joy energies came in, and it was like living in heaven. And I reached out to the minions, the workers of the Dark Lords, the one who the Dark Lords draw their energy from, the energy of fear. I reached out to them with love, and tried to really pluck their heartstrings. And they responded because these were they wore physical bodies. They're human beings too. And they haven't lost all of their memory of what they experienced here on the earth. And all of them had some level, some degree of love at some point in their life. And they began remembering. They began remembering. And the environment that I was in, I was inviting them to come and share in this wonderful environment. And it was almost unbelievable. They came in mass. They came in mass. And their loved ones, I had already called their loved ones to be with them from heaven. And their loved ones and what we call the midway angels who help people transition from this life to the next life were also there. And if this is what you want, go with your loved ones. Go with these beautiful angels who are they're halfway between human and angelic, and so they're easy to identify with. And they went, and the dark lords and dark overlords their mouths were open. Because these people were their power source. They were the ones that they drew their energy from, and now they're gone. And I ask that their loved ones come from heaven and be with them. And they were. And begin to work on their heartstrings and calling them into this beautiful environment. And they too, almost en masse, left and went with them. Heretofore, fear is the thing that has worked. The fear that the dark energies in the universe are being diminished by 80%. There's going to be no place for them or people like them. And so the fear of them being different and not being able to fit in and even losing their own soul if they don't change. That's the motive that I used up to this point, but this was beautiful, positive energy. It was fifth dimensional clearing rather than the third dimensional clearing that I had been doing. And the thought hit me, golly, we all have bad days. Like our day started out that way, and I felt like I ended up in heaven. So why can't this be used when we have a bad day? Go into a light meditative state and just use the aroma, use the beauty of nature. I mean, the sky was just gorgeous that I was seeing, and play some happy, uplifting, joyful music, and feel the love coming to you from your angels and your guides and your spirit family. Okay. And so to reverse a negative day, a negative experience, a negative memory that's plaguing you, fill it with this divine love. And I think this can be just a very, very powerful tool that each one of us can use. Okay? That's my story for the day. I'm going to turn it over to Ortrin and see what she has to add.
Well, before we started the show, Dana and Carl and we were speaking, and just the opposition of that, what's going on right now on the earth plane, and with the many, I'm going to say in a sense, very destructive things that have been going on, and what kind of energy that is bringing up in all of our hearts, really, and minds, because it's just such a situation, such a sad situation, sad situations. And so I too had quite the night, and I felt so much of the presence of these energies. I mean, they were just poking at me everywhere, and my nerves were just. They were just I couldn't sit still. Basically, I was trying to meditate. They didn't help me. I had to totally, really call in all of my guides, masters, and so on. And it helped, but it didn't totally take it all away. But really, let's think about this. March is quite the month anyhow. March, the old saying, it comes in like a lion and leaves like a lamb. And that's what it feels like right now. That's what it felt, at least, over the last few days, over the last weeks. It's felt like that it's been all this craziness coming in. And, lions can be, of course, very beautiful and protective and helpful, but they're also can be also ferocious. And it's that ferociousness part that seems to have spun out at this point in time. But there's always that, again, even with that particular statement, that comes in like a lion and leaves like a lamb. So I think what Carl was describing, if that kind of thing is occurring at all in your life, how important it is to go within. And all of us may have it at some level, so that it's such an important time. We always look forward to the spring equinox, because it is that time of it's like you start getting bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You start thinking about all the sunshine, because the sun is such a big part of this. And thinking back, if you were looking at the ancient Egyptian traditions and the whole system along the Nile, which represents our energy system or our chakra system, this is the time that are leaving the Upper Egypt. We're stepping out from Upper Egypt, which is the divine energies, and where we have been collecting them over a period of time, and stepping into that first energy center, which is really, in a sense, almost like the emotional center, your solar plexus area, because the loop is from the heart on up. And if you look at an ankh, and that is where source begins, new life begins. It's where the energies of that new, amazing, beautiful things that you accumulated while you were in that sleep state. And that's what, of course, winter represents, is that sleep state. We went into the womb, and we were in the darkness. But as we're traveling around in higher consciousness, we are accumulating new thoughts, new ideas, new things to bring forth to the planet. And so you step out into that chakra, which is basically where the first cataract of the Nile would be, and it is there overlighted by the god Khnum, who is the one that focuses on the flow of the river Nile. So there, the waters of life are now beginning to flow. The new creative images and thoughts that have come forth, including, of course, new life. The whole fertility thing is all about, birth and starting that path and spreading it out and into the world and beyond. So we will have those times of like you feel like it's just being shattered, but new life begins. And interestingly enough, March is overseen by Pisces. And of course, Pisces is very much a water sign. Again, that flow of life, that energy, that new energy that brings life, and it allows it to be spread out into the world once it flows down the river or your chakras, where you're grounding it into the earth. So there are things that are necessary for us to do if we are at that kind of a crossroad right now, because we have old things yet, and that's what needs to get flushed away. And that's what that energy, the water energy that's represented in the ancient times, will allow it to be taken away and dissipated and changed. Also, we're in the time of Aquarius, and of course, this is all new beginning, a new time, the time of the feminine. So we are overlighted by the feminine energies at this time. But March is a Pisces sign, but it is overlighted by the Aquarius, by Aquarius, the stone itself too, which is basically the bloodstone. If you've ever heard of that, those of you that are in the into crystals and stones, and the bloodstone course, what is that? That's blood of life. It's a purification stone. So if you are having some challenges at this time of keeping that balance and feeling like there are things that are coming up, because that's really what it is very often. It's our own things coming up. Utilize a bloodstone. Hold it in your hand, put it on your altar, because it will help to purify your system, your lymphatic system and your blood system. It's really for all of the different parts of you. It will purify and start to break away that which is no longer a part of you, that lion part of you, that ferocious lion, I'm going to say, part of you, and begin to start healing you. And then that recognition of that gentle, beautiful lamb that represented of new birth, that will come forth within you, and that's what you can create, so that the rest of your season, the rest of the year, will be impacted by those type of energies, not only within yourself, but also for our planet Earth.
There's some thoughts for you. Dana, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, I keep a beautiful African bloodstone sphere on my altar for exactly those reasons that Ortrun just mentioned.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, it is the warrior stone. So, we as warriors of the divine, it's good for us to have those around us.
Now, Dana, if I can put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
Do you have ups and downs in your days and with these energies, and if so, how do you deal with them?
Well, I do. In my dream time, when I'm trying to sleep, is where I find myself really working on the inner planes. And a lot of the lack of sleep that I've been experiencing for the past few months, actually, is because of the dissonant energies that are wreaking havoc right now in the inner planes. It affects my sleep tremendously, and my bones. Interestingly, my bones. I can feel achiness in my bones, and I don't know if that's an ancestral. If it's my ancestors letting me know that they're working with me. I'm not quite certain what the bone component is, but it's there, and it's very unique to the past several months.
Okay, can I give a larger picture, a view at least of the larger picture here on this?
Yes, please.
I believe we're building up to a climax. And as I said, about 80% of the dark energy is going to be eliminated from our universe. It's not just a planetary thing, because there have been wars in space going on for millions of years, and the Creator has said enough. I've learned all that I can learn or want to learn, and I no longer want to put up with literally with this crap. Okay? So the dark forces are being eliminated from the earth, and this is a test case here, because we are an experimental planet. And because the end is drawing near, they're just as desperate as they can possibly be. They're fighting for their life and for their way of life. And they do not feel an obligation to abide by universal law at all. So they're free to do anything. I shouldn't say they're free, because it all has a consequence. But they are using any and everything they can possibly use to preserve themselves and their way of life. And so it's if we're not at the highest intensity of this yet, we're close to it. And if it gets a little bit worse, the worse it gets, the more you know we're nearing the end of this. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So the earth needs us more than ever, and we need the other light workers, and we need all of the spiritual beings. We need the energy being sent to us from numerous star systems, and we need to be at a level of consciousness that we're open to receive all of this help and embody it physically, mentally, emotionally, psychically, spiritually, okay? And if we are open to receive that and functioning at a frequency that we can receive it, it will make it easier for us. It will make it tremendously helpful to the planet and to all of humanity. Mm-hmm. So I believe that's one of our major roles that we're here to play right now.
I agree.
Go ahead.
I agree, and as you're speaking, you know, at least here in this country, many forms of extremism are being highlighted, and the three of us and all of our listeners know that the thoughts, energies, collaborations are all magnetic. So if extremism of any sort right now is being highlighted or being brought to the surface, those same energies from the unseen realms are meeting them. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that you and Ortrun are spot on in that it's so important for us to be in a space of balance as best we can, but to really recognize that when, you know, we wake up with achy bones or what have you, whatever way these energies are displaying themselves in our personal world, that we understand what's going on rather than just give up shining our light.
Dana, I totally agree with that because of the type of work Carl and I have been doing, you know, for so many years, and I tend to be more the feeler in the family. And so sometimes it's like, come on, am I ever going to get beyond this? But the thing is, what I came to recognize that this was really part of the mission that I came to assist with, you know, is to uplift. And so you know, Carl and I and our listeners, you know, they're experiencing things like this. And to recognize that if you have those types of feelings, whether it be, you know, pain in your body or your bones or, you know, like I said, mine was my nerves, know that those are all energies for us to transmute, and know that that's part of the process. And, you know, if you recognize what of an assistant you are, it really, even though it's frustrating it seems, but yet it's easier to go through.
Yeah.
You know, and like Carl said, instead of thinking, you know, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get better? What's wrong with me? Why can't I function like most people do? Because they don't experience these things. But know that you have a larger mission. And specifically, March brings this out in us anyways, because, you know, we talked about the bloodstone, and I mentioned that it's the warrior stone. Well, you know, March is overlighted by Mars, which represents, you know, in a sense, war. But we have that battle. You know, we're moving into the light now. You know, we're moving out of the darkness and into the light. So to focus on the sun, and that's what's so predominant right now, is the sun is starting to really permeate this planet now.
Yeah.
So that's that positive, beautiful sun. So the creation that we have within ourselves, you know, let that sun build it to be even more beautiful and large, and, you know, let those flowers, you know, the flowers within us and our chakras, you know, to shine brightly, because that way we are then able to bring the energy that we are meant to bring here, you know, to the planet. Sometimes it's not easy. I know, Dana, you know it's not, and I know it's not, and I know Carl and his, even though he doesn't have that feeling like we're having, he has that knowledge, you know, he has it in his mind, you know. So it's, and we always think everything should be so great and harmonious, and it will be, because it will be uplifted. But we're at a very intense space right now and time frame right now where that is all being, you know, transmuted, especially since we're in the age of Aquarius.
Exactly.
Because this is that new beginning. That's this new vibration. So this is March, it's the third month of this year. Just imagine, how much it will get easier. It's hard right now because we're really tossing things out right now.
Yeah, I would like to add another thought here. In the higher dimensions, they do not have linear time as we do, past, present, and future. They live in the now moment. And I'm going to suggest that to the extent that you can, live in the now moment. And do you know what creates the now moment? The now moment is where you're focusing your attention. At that point in time, that is your reality. All right, we've got shootings in Colorado. We've had mass shootings, I don't know, probably a dozen over the last year or so. Don't focus on them. Yes, hear them, know that they happen, and send the people involved forgiveness, peace, love. All right? And let your now moment be the energy you're sending them, not on the dastardly deed that's been done. If you focus on the dastardly deed that's been done, you're depressing yourself. You are amplifying the negative energy of the human consciousness. But if you focus on sending them forgiveness, understanding, love, peace, etc., you are adding positive energy, not only to them and to that situation, but you're helping the entire planet and all of humanity. So take control of the thought you're holding in your mind. Be aware of it. If it's negative, transmute it to a positive thought, a positive emotion. And positive emotion comes out of positive thought. Negative emotion comes out of negative thought. And what kind of person do you want to be? What kind of person do you enjoy yourself being? Well, you're the only one that can create that kind of person.
Exactly. And next week we enter what we celebrate around Grandmother Earth. Not everybody, but a huge volume of people celebrate Holy Week.
Exactly.
And this Sunday is Palm Sunday.
Exactly.
And so we have a magnificent opportunity, all of us, to join in this sacred time. Would you talk about that a bit, Ortrun?
Well, you're bringing that up it's really this is something, an awareness I came to over my time frame of studying and introspection. I was raised Catholic also, like you, Dana.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a little girl, oh my goodness, and, we had to go to church every day, and I spent lots of time in church other than that. And I used to do the Stations of the Cross.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Yep.
And, and I was a child, and I was young, and, we were all young, and we look at the Stations of the Cross, and it doesn't really, it's not that, if you look at it on the outer, it's not that nice. Let me just say that. It was a very hard week for Jesus, But then I realized, that was a path. That's the path of Las Cruces,
Yep.
And then, but when you grow in awareness and consciousness, you can start looking at the symbology of that way of the cross, and recognize that Jesus was human just like we were, right? And Jesus, what it came to me is that he was actually showing us the way. And he showed us that things can be tough here upon the planet. And even it can be tough for me as he was going through these Stations of the Cross. And, but what I found in looking at those in a different way once I took it with him is, yes, but there are beings there to assist him. Those were the earth angels. So now you've got your earth angels around you. And, when Jesus walked and he fell because he couldn't carry the cross anymore, St. Simeon came and picked up the cross and helped him. So all those helpers that came along the way, we all bear our cross, but we also can transmute it into the way of the light, the path of Las Luces. And so, and then recognizing that whatever it is that we've gone through is part of our ascension process, and that the ultimate is that we then do, we get to that point where we die, which is the letting go, and then the resurrection, and then the ascension. So for me, it's really now a different way of looking at it and realizing that this is something that happens to us, not only way down to the molecular level where it's the death and resurrection. Death doesn't occur without some kind of a disintegration and so on, and that's what the path of the cross, the weight of the cross represents. There's a time that things were beautiful and great, but it was now time for it to be eliminated. So it starts to break down within us and all around us, because the world shows us that. And then there's that space where there's the death process that takes place, and then the rising again. And really the Ankh in the ancient Egyptian times represents that also, because we are going up the cross to where it crosses over. But the Egyptians, they have the loop. So then you go in and you're renewing and refreshing and moving on to the next. It's like you're climbing spirals of consciousness. So Holy Week is an amazing, beautiful week. And really, when I was a child, it was always the lamenting, that went on. And, you on Good Friday, you couldn't speak a word, from that point on until, things were further progressed, of course, and succumbed, Jesus succumbed on his cross and so on. But now I can see that in a different way for myself. And if you walk through this Holy Week and start looking at it not on what's on the outer surface of what it looks like, but take it within, take that whole week within as you're walking it, and see how different it will be for you, and this understanding how different it will be, and the energy vibration that it will bring up within you, instead of focusing on the sadness of it, but actually it's like the recreation, the new beginning of all that there is.
This is class is called Earth's Ascension. We haven't talked about that directly, but yet we've been indirectly talking about it because one of the most powerful forces that are helping the Earth to make its transition is the collective consciousness of humanity that lives on the surface of the Earth. And as we take responsibility for our level of consciousness and hold our consciousness as high as we can, we are impacting the collective consciousness, and which then directly impacts the Earth. But there are other things that are happening that impact the Earth too. We've talked about the energy coming in from other star systems and from different levels of the spirit realm and so on. But on the physical Earth, something happened March 5th of this year. The plate tectonics, which is the movement of the plates that float on the surface of the lava, and these are, when they move, they create what we call earthquakes. Well, there was a sticking point where the Earth was, the plates tectonics were tied up in one point and could not move. On March the 5th, there was, I think it was an 8-point something earthquake there, and that point got broken. And for the next couple of weeks, there was just a strong earthquakes happening in that part of the world, which was just off of the coast of New Zealand, down in the South Pacific Ocean. And so that indicates that, yes, it did get broken because plates began to move at a more rapid rate, thus creating more higher than normal earthquakes. Okay, it has just recently begun to slow down, and just in the last couple of days. But the plate tectonics are going to be picking up now because this one sticky point, and I think it was the only sticky point, or the primary one anyway. So earthquakes, the plates can now begin moving more quickly. And when the plates move, they rub against each other, or they go over or under each other, okay? You've got rock rubbing against rock, and that creates EMPs, electromagnetic pulses. And if this can disrupt the electronics or anything working on electricity that's in that vicinity. So this creates a danger for airplanes if they happen to be flying over a part of the plates that are moving, that are creating an EMP. It will knock out the electrical system on the plane, which literally they have no communication, no control, no engines don't run, etc. Okay. So, and a couple of the mysterious airlines that they've just disappeared, and that's been the reason. Okay, so if that happens, understand that it's a natural result of the Earth changes. And another Earth change that is just beginning to exhilarate. This comes from Nibiru. Nibiru does not have oxygen. It has a lot of petroleum, and petroleum bubbles will raise off of the planet. And as it gets out into space with less gravity, they become larger and larger. And it's a bubble made out of the fumes and the liquid of petroleum. And in a lot of these bubbles, there's red dust, because many of the moons, they've got red dust that comes off of them. All right. And those that might come close to the Earth, once it hits our atmosphere, Nibiru does not have oxygen, so those bubbles cannot explode on Nibiru. But when it hits our oxygen is necessary for fire. Those bubbles will burst into flame, and you may see a bright light in the sky. And some of them are going to happen close enough to the surface of the Earth that they create fires. Okay? So know that this is a process that's just beginning, and when you read about this, understand where it's coming from. And so anyway, those are the two Earth changes that I'm aware of that have occurred here, or that I've become aware of in the months of March.
Well, I think we really covered a lot of area. Are there any questions or any thoughts that anyone has at this time?
Well, in the chat room, Holly Hagan is saying that, she can become overwhelmed with the toxicity of, what Grandmother Earth is experiencing. And she's trying to focus on the new growth. And Carla Jo added, negative draws more of the same, as does positive. So really reframing our thoughts is such a powerful force here on Grandmother Earth. And so that's what was shared in the chat room.
Well, that reminds me, of, the further you're able to descend, the further you can heighten, and go further up, in consciousness. So, when we experience those dips, where it feels like we're dipping, if we have that focus, if we have that focus of continuing and walking our path, look how much further that we are ascending, and really quicker.
I agree.
She says we live on a trampoline.
Sometimes it feels like it. But, most people enjoy the trampoline, right?
Exactly.
But really, March is an absolutely beautiful month. We just love it. We look forward to it, because it is that time where we're starting to think, it's a new beginning. It's spring, and as I mentioned, the sun. The sun is getting brighter and brighter and brighter all the time. So focus on those things that are coming, and the growth that is beginning, the new growth, the new things that you're sharing out into the world with what you have been, in a sense, keeping within yourself, and now really letting go and sharing those beautiful pearls of wisdom that you have. And now is that time that time where you are, doing the new planting, those new seeds that will not only help you grow even further, but help others to grow in awareness and consciousness.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that, Ortrun. Thank you for a wonderful show today, Carl and Ortrun.
Well, thank you so much for having, and thank you for everyone that's here
yes,
with us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I hope it empowers and informs. That's our goal.
Mm-hmm.
So we bless you all, and you're all in our love, and thank you for being here in these difficult times.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you both.
We love you very much. Feel a big hug from us, okay?
Thank you for that. We'll take it. And thank you to everybody in the chat room and everybody who's out there listening.
Have a wonderful month, and we will see you then in April.
Perfect. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
Bye-bye
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.